mid-January, and today we are continuing on our Reaper Bones project. Now, 8 a.m. Eastern on a Wednesday probably has to be the worst time to start streaming. Because who's really watching right now? I get it. Nobody's bored enough at work yet to turn on their phone. Everyone's still at their job internationally. Asia is settling down for, dinner, but and turning in for the night. They're probably not tuned in at the moment. But it's when I have the energy and the I haven't given up on the day yet, basically. Is why we're here right now. Hi everyone, thanks for passing through. We're just doing some more painting again today. Right now I'm working on this sort of pilgrim monk looking character. Doing some highlights on his skin tone. I know there's like weird ethical challenges with brushes that are made of natural fibers. And I only have a couple, and this one was a freebie from a company replacing a piece of equipment. But damn, this thing's good. It just comes to a finer point than pretty much any synthetic I've ever used. And it's maintaining that point pretty well, which is frustrating because, again, synthetics are easier to come by, they're generally more affordable. I don't know that they're any better for the environment, but they definitely feel, less like a dead weasel on your paintbrush. But darn if this thing isn't a good brush. It sure is. This particular one is the Phalanx, the size 2 from Game Envy. It's a Kalinsky sable, so it's like a Kalinsky sable is like a Siberian weasel ferret looking thing. They're real cute. And his little belly furs or whatever are the driving component behind this brush. It's a really kind of stiff fiber, and the moisture just flows incredibly well from it. Right now I just have um, fantasy figures around, but this is for a paid job, so that's why we're doing this Reaper setup today. But you can find, custom models of contemporary and historical figures if you wanted to go that route. All right. Next up, we need to tidy this purple. A little bit of an off-white, like an ivory color, or maybe a little bit of this skin tone. Lighten it up and use that to highlight the hood and shawl. No, not like that. Yeah, thanks for being here and checking it out. We're going to keep on painting. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So yeah, I teach people how to paint little figurines like this, and I paint them on commission. So I'm just sitting here hanging out and painting today. Thanks for stopping by, Matt. Let's see. Yeah, that's the right bugs. So this is one I was Plague Doctor. There's a second one that's not quite finished yet. And then I have this large troll as well, but I'm not so happy with the skin color. I'm not sure where I'm going with that. So I'm kind of putting it off. And so this is Alter Ivory that I'm going to use to mix in for my highlight colors. It's not super bright. It's a little bit of an off-white, but that's going to work out for me. So I don't want to jump too high in brightness too quickly. Especially when you're using a white, you can get a really unfortunate desaturated look doing that. It's already maybe a bit too much, but we're gonna just go for it. And I'm mainly just trying to clean up this edge because there's some spillover from the nearby colors. Just do a little bit of a highlight, and I also do some like dots and scratches and lines to imply that the fabric is sort of beat up and textured. I just do that on all of the raised areas. This has too much water in it still. Painting figures this, over time you'll realize that like controlling the moisture in your brush is the most like beneficial thing you can do. It's what gives you a lot of control and helps you put color exactly where you want it. Yeah, these are just generic fantasy figures. These are for somebody else. They're gonna use them for D&D. These are from the Reaper Bones Dungeon Dwellers collection. So there's all kinds of sort of gloomy adventurers, pilgrims, plague doctors, that kind of stuff. This one is sort of like a wandering monk. So I'm just building up a little bit of highlights on his cowl here, trying to give it some shape. Normally I try to do the hands camera, so you just see the figure that's being painted, but it's kind of annoying to have that in your face and actually try to get anything done. So experimenting with the more conversational viewpoint. Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, painting for me is like my favorite part. The games are fun and nice, but um, my main hobby is I go to local libraries and stores and I teach people how to paint. Mostly beginners. You know, I'm not a professional or anything like that, but it's a hobby I really care about. So I try to make sure other people can be exposed to it and test it out before they buy a bunch of expensive stuff and get frustrated. Um, but that's really cool. Yeah, the even if it's on a stand, it's like right here in your chest, and you're like trying to paint around it. I tried it for a couple, and it's just um, you're fighting the autofocus the whole time too. I would rather just occasionally kind of point the figure your way instead of having to eat my camera for an hour. Have you done any painting yourself, or have you gotten interested now that your brother's doing some? When I paint at conventions, um, I get a lot of new folks, and that's kind of who I'm geared toward. But the overwhelming majority of my painters are like um, the wives and kids and family members of people who like kind of drug them to the convention to do their own thing. And it's awesome to see how many people we can kind of unify their family hobbies by one person's a playing person, one person's a prep person, and kind of like I do a lot of the painting. My wife GMs for a group of her friends, and so like to have that partnership is really fun. Oh, that's cool. Got it. Yeah, I'm down in Florida, but um, if you're ever, I don't know where in Virginia you are relative to like DC, but I know that they're um, at the host of like one of the super big national miniatures events. It's called Nova Open. They do like painting classes and like paint and takes and stuff there once a year. But any of your local game stores will probably have some nerd like me that has too much paint and wants to just sit and chat about this stuff. If he's looking for guidance, that's definitely where I'd start. The online tutorials are really good nowadays, but having someone be able to give you feedback as your paint is drying, super helpful. It's like all the consistency of stuff a lot easier. Painting hoods is so weird. It's like trying to honor the shape that the light would have on this thing without making it so bright that it's kind of washed out. It's something I struggle with. You know, in general, unless someone asks otherwise, I try to do all of my figures with a general overhead light, you know, chandelier, sun, that kind of thing. And so they all have this top-down highlighting scheme. Sometimes you get a weird shape and you're like, how much do I actually highlight this? And with fabric in general, the highlight to shadow ratio is a lot more compressed. It doesn't have the same level of contrast that like a metallic surface would have. So if you do highlight, you have to be sure that your shadows aren't too dark by contrast, or your cloak looks like it's made out of, like, you know, aluminum foil, something super reflective. Yeah, this is definitely turning out brighter than I had envisioned it, but that's okay. We can either leave it bright, or we can always manually darken it back down afterwards. So these particular figures are from a company called Reaper. They're based out of Texas. You can usually find them at comic book stores, but there's also a few Michaels across the country that have a small selection now. They're doing like a pilot program. So comic book stores, they're going to have figures from a company called WizKids. They're like Dungeons and Dragons themed figures that are pre-treated with primer, so you can just paint right over them. You don't need to add any materials. I really like these ones from Reaper. They usually come in like a single container with a guy just kind of hanging there. You may find them at a local comic store or like a board game store. You can also order directly from them online, and they're fairly affordable. If you know anybody with a resin 3D printer, a lot of folks 3D print their own figures, so like there's a ton of options. Let me see if I have a one in a blister pack. Let me see, you can see what it looks like. So like if you were to go to a comic book store or even Barnes & Noble, you might find something like this. This is one of those WizKids figures, and so it comes with, they usually come with two figures of the same kind of character, so it's like two different wizards or two different orcs, that kind of thing. And these ones down here, it says HD pre-primed. That means if he has paint, you can just paint right out of the container. Some folks have mixed success with that treatment, but I think it's generally fine, especially if he's only painting like casually for fun. This would be an easy option. There's a couple of different brands that do stuff like this, but this is sort of an affordable way to pick up one or two and get excited. But yeah, the Reaper ones, for like general fantasy figures, the Reaper ones are my favorite. They have like 4,000 different designs, and the way their business works, they just like, sculptors will say, hey, I have this design, do you want it? And they just license it. And so there's like a ton of different artists doing different styles. There's some really cool stuff in the Reaper collection. It's gonna be hard to get this in front of the camera, but all of these ladies up here, they're all Reaper, and they come in this sort of medium gray plastic. This little Red Riding Hood down here. Oh, trying to fight the light. She's Reaper. All these zombies and stuff down here. Yeah, they make really cool. They do some sci-fi stuff as well, but mostly fantasy. But yeah, I hope you find some stuff you like. if your brother is the actual like GM dungeon master guy, another great thing to pick up is Reaper and WizKids make packs that are like animals, bears, wolves, giant toads. That kind of stuff is always a hit. I've never seen a dungeon master who got one of those as a present and was upset about it, because there's always room to, turn somebody into one with a spell or find one in the wild. Whereas if you get them, the super mega vampire guy, they may not fight a vampire every day. Here I'm trying to just lighten up the pages of the books a bit here. He's carrying, whatever his version of the holy text is. Or maybe he's just trying to look that way. Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, and even if he just has them and they use them together as a group, like people are gonna be excited. Um, yeah, it's just a very sort of relaxing middle ground hobby. So I hope you have some fun with it. All right, do some basic highlights on the face here. Typically for this, I just do like the tip of the nose and cheekbones. Uh, if you wanted to be really complex in your highlighting, a lot of folks will use like makeup tutorials um, to help understand the structures of the face and where adding highlight and shadow can kind of contour. Uh, but on this guy, especially because he's wearing a hood, that won't be necessary. It's pretty deep and shadowed. And then if I'm feeling fancy, sometimes I do just the tip of the knuckles just to catch some light. All right, he's looking pretty good. We have to even out the straps on his chest, and I need to paint the rope of his belt. But he's coming along. Nice. this. These have such weird names. This is abhorrent ochre. It's like it's like a golden brown with a little bit of green mixed in. There's our base coat on the rope. Probably gonna call the stream there for now. Looks like we've run out of discussion points, but thanks to everybody who came by. I appreciate it.